Okay, this is 373, week 6, part 9. That's why the scene in the movie is so interesting when Coriolanus is going in for the ceremony where they're going to talk about him, and I'll go over that scene in a second. But they have a big ceremony honoring him. He There's a big ceremony honoring him, and he just doesn't want to be in the. He just leaves. They're like, "We're going to honor you in this." He's like, "No, I'm going to go out in the hallway and just wait. I don't want to listen to all your praises. I'm just going to go outside and wait." Because he just doesn't. That's how much he hates praise, that he literally doesn't want to hear nice things said about him, because it kind of undermines his whole philosophy of life, which is he does war because it's the right thing to do, and it's not for praises, and it's not for gold, and it's not for women, it's not for reward of any kind. It's someone very famous, I forget who, said of this play that Coriolanus is an interesting character because he is somehow both the god of war and also a huge fucking baby. I think that's correct. He is a god of war and a huge baby. This play is often unintentionally funny, so much so that George Bernard Shaw made a joke that Coriolanus is Shakespeare's greatest comedy. And that's funny because it's not a comedy at all. It's a very depressing play. But, like, Coriolanus is kind of funny. He doesn't mean to be funny, but he's so ridiculous because, again, he's like so angry, but that anger often reduces him to being a massive, yelly, whiny, tantrum-throwing baby, but also the greatest soldier who ever lived. So he's a complicated, interesting person. All right, let's return to the text. All right. So the fundamental problem of I'm sorry. So I'm gonna get to talk. I shouldn't have talked about that scene because I'll go over the details of it next. But it came up because I was thinking about the compliments. The fundamental problem of Coriolanus, like Macbeth, is that he's very good on the battlefield, but he's not good elsewhere. Macbeth's very good on the battlefield, but not good politicianing at home. Coriolanus is the same problem. His mother wants him to be a senator. The problem with senators is because it makes sense as the next promotion that he was a great soldier and now he'll be a great senator. Awesome. The problem is that to be a senator means you have to listen to the people. And Coriolanus does not listen to the people. And you have to ask, "Oh, I hope you'll vote for me." Whew, that is not something he is going to do. He does not want that. And there's a great line at the bottom of page 11 where he says to his mother, "I had rather be their servant in my way than sway with them in theirs." Meaning he kind of is their servant because he's a soldier and he fights the country's enemies. But that's his way of being a servant. But if he's a senator, he has to sway with them in theirs, meaning they get to decide what he should care about or vote on or whatever. And he does not want that because he fucking hates those people. And I get it. Like, I think one of the reasons I like this play is I'm frequently incredibly frustrated with Americans for being such assholes. And so I really have a weird amount of sympathy with Coriolanus, who is so angry and sick. Because no, I don't want him, like, I'm a regular guy, like regular people, but I hate American voters so much for voting for stupid shit that I hate. Anyway, let's take a look at the scene where Coriolanus is talking about praises. So he says, "I would rather have my wounds to heal again than hear say how I got them." Because he's supposed to go out. The tradition in ancient Rome for a senator was just like a politician has to give a speech and say, "I hope you'll vote for me," or a television commercial and say, I was a soldier and I hope you'll vote. Because politicians do that all the time, right? Politician will get on TV and be like, put a commercial, be like, "I was a soldier, I fought for my country, I hope you'll vote for me for the United States Senate." That's my politician voice. But in ancient Rome, they did something similar. What Coriolanus was supposed to go, and they wore these like togas, these like loose-fitting clothing. And the idea was senators are supposed to go out and say, "I hope you'll vote for me. I hope you'll vote for me. I hope you vote for me." And what they would do is they would like lift up their togas, or just think about it like they lift up their shirts. And he would like lift up his shirt and be like, "Do you see this scar? I got this in service, fighting for you on the battlefield. I hope you vote for me." And then it'll be like, "Look, you see this stab wound here that's just barely healed? I got this fighting for you, because I'm a soldier. I hope you'll vote for me." Coriolanus, I mean, now that you know his personality, you can understand he cannot fucking do it. He can't do it because he's not fighting for them. He's fighting for him. He's not fighting for other people. He's fighting because it's the right thing to do. Oh, does it benefit the country? He doesn't give a shit about that. He does it because it's right. There's a great movie. If you want to see a movie about another character that's kind of fun, it's a martial arts movie with very little martial arts in it. I fucking love it. It's called Red Belt, and nobody likes it but me. But if you like Coriolanus, it's an interesting movie. It's about a guy who plays. He says he's like a martial arts coach, but he follows like the way of the samurai, and his wife is so frustrated because he never has any money. And she says, the way of the samurai, the way of the samurai. You think it's noble, the way of the samurai? You think it's noble? And he says, no, I think it's correct. That's Coriolanus. You want to write a paper on Red Belt and Coriolanus? I will. I'll love it. I'll get so excited. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm on page 13 now. He says, Coriolanus says, when blows have made me stay, I fled from words. Because he's very brave. He's perfectly happy to go out there and fight people attacking him with a sword. But he doesn't want to hear praise because he thinks it's gross. You soothe not, therefore you hurt not. Okay. They tell him to sit down, and he doesn't want to sit there and hear nice things about himself. I had rather have one scratch my head in the sun when the alarm were struck than idly sit by to hear my nothings demonstrated. The word monster and the word demonstration are... am I doing this now? God, I get so distracted so easy. I'm going to do it really quick. The word monstered, the M-O-N in monster is the same M-O-N in demonstrate, because deformed animals, if an animal is born deformed, it was thought to be a demonstration from the gods, and so they were called monsters, and it was supposed to teach you something. The M-O-N in monitor and the M-O-N in demonstration and the M-O-N in monster are all the same. It means warning. Or teaching, a lesson of some kind. So a demonstration is a lesson, and to monitor is to look out for warnings, and a monster was originally a deformed animal that was a warning from the gods. Anyway, why do I know these things? He doesn't want to hear. He'd rather not go to. He'd rather just sit there and not go to war than listening to people say nice things about him, and he loves going to war. Masters of the people, you multiplying spawn, how he can flatter. That's 1,000 to 1 good one. When you now see he had rather venture all his limbs in honor than one's ears to hear it. So he'd rather risk all of his bodily parts for honor, because he does like honor, but he doesn't want his ears to hear it. And so Cominius, is like Black Panther's dad, and he's going to give a big speech. And this is the part where Coriolanus just leaves. Coriolanus just nopes out, and he decides he's not going to do it. Because this is essentially a list, because they're saying why they're honoring him. This is a gigantic speech about why Coriolanus is the best. And he just leaves. And there's a weird moment where the janitor's out there, and he's just standing outside the chamber. But this is the big speech that Cominius gives about Coriolanus. It's really important for us, because Coriolanus doesn't give speeches like Macbeth, like the Dagger of the Mind speech. And so we don't know much about Coriolanus, but we're going to learn about Coriolanus from what Cominius, who's like the general, says about him. I shall lack voice, meaning I don't even know how to put into words how great Coriolanus is. He's giving this big speech in front of everybody. The deeds of Coriolanus should not be uttered feebly. You gotta have a strong voice. It is held that valor is the chiefest virtue, and most dignifies the haver. If it be, the man I speak of cannot in the world be singly counterpoised. So if bravery is the most important thing in the world, then no man on earth is greater than Coriolanus, because he's the most brave. At 16 years, when Tarquin, hey, it's Tarquin, do you remember that from Macbeth's speech with Tarquin's ravishing strides, towards his design, moves like a ghost? I don't know, it makes me happy that Tarquin is mentioned in 2 different Shakespeare plays. It's just great. But of course, when Macbeth mentions Tarquin, it's like ancient Roman history. This is ancient Rome, so Tarquin was somebody that Coriolanus fought with when he was 16. I have to say, Tarquin, there's more than one guy named Tarquin. I should probably double check to make sure it's the same guy, but that's the gist of it. When Tarquin made a head for Rome, meaning this is when one of the enemies of Rome was attacking, he fought beyond the mark of others. At 16 years old, he went to war. Our then dictator, dictator here doesn't mean something bad, but their leader. Our then dictator, with whom all praise I point at, saw him fight with his Amazonian chin. He drove the bristled lips before him. As you know from Wonder Woman, the Amazonians are Wonder Woman and her people. They're female warriors. They say Coriolanus had an Amazonian chin. Why? Because he didn't have any... The Amazon are women. They don't have facial hair. Coriolanus was too young to have facial hair, but it didn't stop him from going to war and kill a bunch of bearded dudes because he's a war hero. All right, I'll see you in the last video.